Welcome to another exciting episode of the Splitfire Gaming Podcast. Slight interlude between the last one because I've moved house, which is the biggest pain in the arse ever. So we're going to ditch the army's tier list, and I'm just going to whinge about how much annoyance moving house is, if that's all right.
I'm surprised you had a house, Mark. I thought it was just like under a bridge somewhere or something.
I am not a troll. These Orc and Goblin loving trolls, that's not me.
More the ones that lurk on the internet, being really aggressive to people.
That's the best kind. They've got a 4 regen against like bans or something. No, nobody's going for that? That's fine. Anyway, I'll reintroduce what are now becoming the Statler and Waldorf of my podcast. Scott, welcome back.
Thank you very much again.
And Steve.
Yep, thank you very much.
Coming back to share some more opinion, very little fact, on what the best armies are.
This show is going out to the internet where, opinions rather than fact tend to rule.
Yeah, facts are overrated. It's all about just shouting louder than everybody else, and then you clearly know what you're talking about.
I think that's true. And everything we're saying here is personal. And if you don't agree with what we're saying, then,
you're wrong.
You're wrong, or you get blocked or something like that. That's not how the internet works. It's a series of tubes. So has anything exciting happened to you hobby-wise in the past 2 months since the last one?
I've finished painting my Chaos Dwarfs. Ready for the TC event next month.
Are you taking the Chaos Dwarfs to Triple Crown?
Yeah.
Mark, it's a well-known fact that all the cool kids are taking Chaos Dwarfs to Triple Crown.
Are you taking Chaos Dwarfs to Triple Crown by any chance?
Yes.
Yep, I think, and there's another...
There's 4 of us, all taking Chaos Dwarfs.
Chaos Dwarfs.
Oh, I mean, there aren't that many Chaos Dwarfs, That's like, if you all lose, that's like the species is extinct, isn't it?
Well, it's we decided that they're not seen very often, so we're going to try and make them one of the most taken races at that event.
Are you trying to artificially change the meta?
Yeah, obviously, because they'll become the new thing, you see, and then everyone will want to take them.
And then realise that they can't because they cost more than their weight in gold, and you can't obtain them anymore.
And then at the next event, we just take an anti-chaos dwarf list and win.
Which is almost anything.
Yeah, it's all part of a long con, really.
Yeah, we're playing the long game this time.
Yeah.
That's so you're planning these tournament wins several tournaments in advance, then?
Yeah, because then we've got an excuse, obviously, when we do really badly at the next one.
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Hashut will sort that out for you.
Has he ever let his loyal followers down?
No, he's very it's the word benevolent god.
Yeah, the good guy Hashut.
To be fair, when I've usually played them, he's let me down on numerous occasions. I'm obviously doing something wrong.
All of the freaking time.
Well, all I've done is I've got a new cupboard, which I'm very, very excited about. There's a new cupboard to put my models in.
Yeah, that looked good. I see the photo.
Yeah,
I like it.
My life is now centered around DIY and IKEA. Walking through IKEA showrooms and thinking that'd be good to put models in.
That's all we do. That's what IKEA's for. That scented candles and then chocolate when you get to the end shop.
Well, I got the meatballs.
Oh, you missed out on the Marabou chocolate.
Can you combine them? Can you have like chocolate coloured meatballs?
It's been off talking about Warhammer. We'll just talk about how excellent IKEA is.
Yeah, it might evolve this podcast to IKEA because it is like modelling, isn't it? It's building the frames and stuff. Anyway, what nonsense that was. We are going to talk about an armies tier list today because we did the magic one, which I think went quite well. So why not go for a less controversial topic, which is which armies are the best and which are not? Because nobody will disagree or become annoyed at what we rank these at.
Ah, definitely not.
So with no further ado, we have this tier list, which is making its way back into the podcast. So this time we checked beforehand that I'd included everything because I didn't include. What was that? You noticed that I didn't include last time.
It was vampire magic, but it took us till the very end to realise that the army I used the most didn't have its magic there.
Yeah, so 2 hours in to this very professional enterprise, we realised that it wasn't there. But we have checked beforehand, and this should be right. So we've got the standard tiers. S is the best, A, B, C, D, and then trash. We'll see what fits in trash. I have some idea of what might go in there. I don't know about yourselves. And what should be S tier. No hints about what that might be as well. So the first one is Bretonnia. I don't know why it's not alphabetical, but it seems to have generated Bretonnia first.
I should say just before we start, when I've been looking at the books and tiering them up, I've just done it on how strong I think the book is overall. I haven't thought about the top list you can make with it and how that fits into the tournament meta or anything like that.
Yeah, that's probably worth saying that it's not based on what the strongest list you can generate, and I haven't factored in anything like tournament comp because I think Bretonnia gets devastating charge in some cases, and they're allowed to break some sort of usual composition rules. So I haven't factored any of that in.
Yeah, we purely rated it on the strength of the book.
Yeah,
in and of itself.
Yep. So on that, Bretonnia, I'm gonna have to make a few things. So I've only gone 1 to 5, and I realised there's 6 tiers. Bretonnia.
One of them's very much a one trick pony tier, though, isn't it?
I've gone for C for Bretonnia, and I shall tell you why. Because I think generally, bar 1 or 2 units, I think every unit is solid in the book. It's got some access to some good laws. You can make some killer characters. It's got some of the best war machines in the game, but it really suffers being a 6th edition book and not an 8th edition book. And Steadfast hurts it because it relies on a lot of doing the damage on the charge. Saying that, I think you can't really go wrong with a lot of the units in the book, but there's nothing really that's absolutely outstanding, which you look at and go, oh my god, how am I going to kill that? It's just got some solid units.
I think Brett's are undervalued, personally. I mean, it's an army of pretty much 2 up armor save, 5 up or 6 up ward save knights. Their threat range is excellent, especially combined with like I say, the trebuchet war machines, the lore choices that the damsels get, or the prophetess. It does. I can only mirror what you said. It really hurts in 8th edition the fact that it needs to. Steadfast hurts it because it just can't blast through things like it could in earlier editions. I had it somewhere around that on my tier list as well. To be honest, I had it as either a high D or a low C, personally. I like Brett, and actually I find them one of the more tricky armies to play against. And personally, I think in the hands of a good general, they're incredibly. They can be very, very good. They could be really bad. They could be really easily misplayed if you don't know how to handle them.
They suffer a lot from the age of the book. Like Steadfast, nobody factored that in 6th edition because it wasn't a thing yet. And I think a lot of what they can do, the other armies can do it at least as good or better for their cavalry specialty. Like the the Empire Knights, well, they fight with the step up. They fight in, well, that'll be 6, wouldn't it be, for their lance formation? So how long does this lance have to be before you're starting to get benefit out of it again? And then you've got really long, unwieldy lance bricks.
You can hide your entire unit behind a wall of characters, though.
Yeah.
If you wanted to play it like that side, like I actually think the lance is a real strength, to be honest, because you can get so many attacks on such a short frontage, whereas you don't take a lot of damage back.
Yep. I think the best way to play Brets is the combo charging multiple lances into the same spot, because you can get multiple lances in a very short frontage and do absolutely massive amounts of damage. But again, you've got 2 up with the ward save knights, movement 8 in core, which you can just spam quite cheaply. I mean, errant knights are 20 points each for a 2-up save knight with a ward save. And you can get loads of them. And against if you haven't played them, they can be quite tricky. Don't know, I've played you, Mark, with your High Elf Alariel list with my Brets.
No, that never happened. You must be confusing me with somebody else.
And I think they've just got really good mobility. If they're played right, they're hard to get points off. And, well, depends how you play them, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I just think it's solid.
Yeah. And you don't see them a lot either, which always just makes them more challenging to play against.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably agree. Actually, I think a lot of people would rate them lower down, but they probably are a C tier list. And if the book had been like more 8th aimed, it would be quite a force. I would imagine.
And it's also strange that they've got the strongest stone thrower in the game.
Yeah.
For a lore-wise army that hates ranged combat.
But then they've also got some of the best archers in the game.
Yeah, like the flaming attacks on the entire unit of archers for 5 points is just ridiculous.
Yep, and there's still ballistic skill 3 with a longbow, which makes a difference because that 30-inch range.
30-inch range, flaming attacks, incredible.
I've got them stakes as well. That's totally mutes any charge bonus. I think that's what it does.
They get free, and I think it counts as soft cover as well.
Yeah.
So, like for against like high elf archers, Brets will actually hold their own. Because at long range, Brets are hitting on 5s. On long range, high elf archers are hitting on 5s because they're behind the stakes.
And they've got
half the points.
The men at arms are pretty good as well because they're dirt cheap and they've got a halberd.
They have, but they're bad.
They are terrible. They're only there if you run them as a huge bus formation to hold things in place and be steadfast.
With a prayer icon in there.
Yeah, exactly that.
So we're reckoning, like, are we saying C?
Yeah, I think C.
I was thinking C.
I definitely wouldn't go any higher, but I think it's better than C. It's better than D.
It's like the cap out there.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the other lists I've sort of put in D, and Brets are definitely better than that.
This one we haven't mentioned before is supposed to represent the Chaos Dwarfs, but it's the Tamakin book. Now, I've only played against these. Never. I've only observed them a few times.
Played?
I don't think so.
Have we not with the Chaos Dwarfs? I thought we
played.
No,
I think you dug them out for that tournament at the start of the year, but I haven't played against them.
I took them up to Scotland for the tournament in Scotland, which was ace. But no, I thought no, we mustn't have. I love Chaos Dwarfs. I love them. Love their lore. Love their warmish. Love the fact you can take trains, and who doesn't like trains? Love their war machines, even though they're not the greatest. They are excellent. Like, I love the Katai Destroyer. It's amazing. I hate their lord choices one level 4 sorcerer prophet. Their
Everything
core
looks good
choice
on paper, though.
the core choice is appalling. It's so overpriced. It's beyond funny. I'm going to go straight. I would put them as a C personally, because I think everything they do well, other armies do far better and for far, far, far cheaper.
That's cheaper in points and cash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. But as Scott says, the core Chaos Dwarfs are solid. They're overpriced, but they're solid. And the Hobgoblins are quite cheap and quite good for what you get.
The issue is that's it.
Yeah, everything apart from the Demons, Smiths, Sorcerers, stroke engineers are ridiculously overpriced.
Yeah.
You just have to look at Iron Sworn, for example. It's
oh my god, Iron Sworn. My goodness.
Now, a cynic may say you're not supposed to take them as an entire army. It's just supposed to be a bit of a bolt-on to a Chaos army.
Those people are wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with that, but
if we just go just to think about the Iron Sworn for a second, I was just checking before I said we talked about Knights Errant being like how good they were for 20 points essentially for a knight. Iron Sworn are almost as expensive and awful.
are they core? Are they special?
No, the Iron Sworn are special. 17 points a model, movement 3, 1 attack. The only good thing about them, they've got weapon skill 5.
Oh, that'll come in handy with their 1 attack.
Yes.
And strength 5, magical.
Yeah,
and
strength 5 magical.
3 up and a 6 up save, but still at 17 points. That's
17 points a model. They're just so bad.
Well, if you consider a Phoenix Guard is weapon skill 5, strength 4, 4 at ward save, and they're 15 points a model.
And they can move twice as fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love CD. I genuinely do. I think they're awesome. Like one of the armies I love the most. But they're definitely a C for me.
All their artillery though looks great on paper.
The artillery is good on paper. It's just that if you ever come to an artillery battle and the force of the cannon is going to win, and the Chaos Dwarfs don't have a cannon.
So like Dreadquake mortar and stuff, if it hits, doesn't it mean you can't move or something like that? And there's all these extra little.
Yeah, you have to. Everything in the unit would have to take a dangerous terrain test, which is amazing. But you need to buy a slave ogre, otherwise you can't shoot every turn unless you roll a 3 up. And it becomes like 225 points, which is a lot of points for a stone thrower.
Yeah, I mean, considering you could have 2 trebs for less than that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we've already discussed the trebs are just utter filth.
Yeah. I mean, the war machines are good. The problems with the Chaos Dwarf is there's not much in the army that's fast enough to then kind of mop up what's left.
Yeah.
So you're either playing a very static gun line, which isn't a particularly gun line, or you're trying to play a faster army, but it can't really do fast combat particularly well because the renders are just woeful, really. For the points, again, massively overcosted. They really come down. I think is it only 2 wounds each and 2 attacks each?
Yeah.
Essentially, monstrous cav.
Certainly only 2 attacks. It might. Let's just double check because I don't have 2 caught with them. But yeah, no, they've got 3 wounds, but it's only 2 attacks.
3 wounds, but 2 attacks. 2 attacks, monstrous cav, essentially.
And they're twice the price of a knight errant. So for every 1 bull sentinel, you get 2 knights errant.
That's before you even add armor and shields and spears and give them any equipment.
Yeah, before you give them the great weapons that they need to do any kind of damage at all before they just get beat up and ran down.
Don't they suffer from like what I can only describe as oversights? It's like the K'daai does not have magical attacks, so one spirit host can clog that up for an entire game.
It can, yes. There are definite weaknesses to the K'daai.
Oh, the K'daai's amazing, but it's got really glaring weaknesses that if you come up against, it's just going to get
Or like it can set itself on fire.
I mean, there's that.
Is that necessary?
Or just one fella with the dragon helm just can walk up there and start slapping in the face, which did happen to me at an event. You're like, ah, son of a bitch. Yeah, good times. But yeah, Chaos Dwarfs, good fun. Like, genuinely fun to play. You don't see them a lot. They're really cool. They've got a lovely flavour to them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
Love the
competitive,
models, love the army.
yeah, competitive play-wise, they're at best as good as Bretonians. At
I'm
best.
saying C.
Yeah.
I'll bow to your superior knowledge because I like them. I've read the rules, but my actual practical experience of them is quite limited. But they've got lovely models.
Oh yeah, and like I love they will. Will 4 of us are bringing them to the Triple Crown event.
So next, we'll just put that there and move on.
Comfortably one of the best books written for me. Like you can
all this shit you get as a high elf player, like how overpowered you are, and all you can do is look. Have you read the Dark Elf book?
As a high elf player, essentially what you are is a shit dark elf.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's everything that the high elves are good at. The
Dark elves are better.
Yes, like they wrote the high elf book and thought we haven't overpowered these enough.
Dark elves.
So they reroll hits with always strikes first. Usually, they reroll ones to wounds. Like 2 rerolls as a standard. They get to reroll a hit and to wound. That's insane.
And they're an elf, so they've got incredible weapon, incredible initiative, and LD and movement as standard across the army.
They've got equal to the high elf weapon skill, initiative, all that. So there's no like advantage there. They've got the witch elves, which put out an enormous amount of attacks as core, and you can build your standard Death Star is made out of core troops. Like, what the hell is going on there?
You've got clearly a high elf that's really, really bitter.
It's just all like, high elves, yeah, you know, they're so overpowered. Like, they are overpowered, but you turn your fire on the wrong army here. If you just look a bit to the west at Nagaroth, you'll see someone who's even more overpowered. They've got access to a range of very powerful monsters. Yeah, they don't fly, but they are really good. And they've got a lot of interesting abilities that help them. They've got access to every single law of magic from the 8 winds and dark magic, which is really strong. They've got the best fast cavalry in the game, which can have a 4-up armor save. Like, what the hell is that about? They're Shadow Warrior equivalents, the Shades, can take great weapons. So you can't just charge them because it's a load of Strength 5, Initiative 5 attacks coming at you first before you can try to go after these little chaff units. Like, everything about them is really, really strong.
It's actually quite difficult to write a bad Dark Elf list. Like,
what would you say?
Even the relatively rubbish stuff versus the rest of the Dark Elf army is still better than most things in most of their army books.
Oh, yeah, there's one. They have access to swordsmen, so they've got a parry. They've got a core trooper parry. High elves don't have that.
Let's be honest, nobody takes swordsmen.
Nobody takes them, but it's there if you wanted to.
yeah. If you were taking a really shit list, you could still take a really fairly good block of swordsmen.
Their standard ranged attack has got it's armor piercing, isn't it? The repeated crossbow. It's standard. It's armor piercing. I don't know how you'd write a bad Dark Elf list.
You'd have to really try.
Yeah.
Really, really try. Because there isn't really a bad unit in the game. You can make pretty much all of them work.
Maybe the Cold One Knights, maybe?
One up armor save.
Yeah. Still, toughness 4.
I thought it was 2-up armor. But either way, they're tough. Armoured, toughness 4, with a strength 4 mount that cause fear.
What's the other? Doomfire Warlocks. Amazing casters, fast cavalry, ward save, frenzy, I think, or at least got
no.
Not frenzy.
Their ward save just doesn't work against anything.
But they've
Otherwise
got
they're amazing against everything else.
Yeah, fast cavalry mages that can do all right in combat. What?
2 attacks with poison.
What's that about?
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say Dark Elves are comfortably one of the strongest books written for 8th edition. Like, they're just...
I would put them as the strongest.
Yeah, I've got them on my the one my tier list that I'd prepared. I had them as my number one pick, to be honest.
I can't think of anything on top of my head which would be stronger.
I've got another one to throw in up there as well, I suppose, but that's the question.
Come back to that. Are there any flaws in the Dark Elf list?
There's no flaws. I mean, the only thing that's missing would be if it had a cannon or something like that. But it's not a flaw. It's just it's just one of those things it doesn't have, but it has everything. It's got all the tools you can possibly need to deal with anything.
They are. Cause
They've even got some of the most ridiculous magic items in the game as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Cloak of Twilight is just ridiculously good.
It's the more you talk about them, the more they just upset you that they're so much better than everything your army can access.
Oh, and Sea Dragon Cloak. That's +2 to armor in shooting and combat. You know,
It is now, yeah.
Lion Cloak's just shooting, but Sea Dragon Cloak, you can have both. Because why not?
Exactly, Mark. Why not? Because they're just Dark Elves. They've been bullied by High Elves for thousands of years. So the GW 8th edition book writers were like, right, I'll tell you what, time that they had some revenge.
I suppose it's probably because in 6th edition they were horrendously weak, as I remember.
Yeah, they were trash.
And then you come back to 8th and they're just...
Yeah, I used to play them in 6th edition. I don't play them now. It's just too good.
Well, yeah. I can't think of... There's no arguments about them being an S, I can't imagine.
There's absolutely zero arguments.
I do enjoy playing them though, as a high elf player, because it is a real challenge. Because every one of your advantages is neutralized straight away.
To be honest, to give them to the Dark as well, actually, like they've got, as well as being incredibly powerful, their fluff's excellent. Like their storylines, it's just good on that side of the game as well.
Yeah, it's a good book.
It's a really good book in so many different ways. That's why everybody hates them.
Well, they do have hated high elves as well. Just to add that as well, just, we can't re-roll because of our strikes first, but we can re-roll because we hate you. So, all of you can fight in 3 ranks. Great.
You're so bitter, aren't you?
I hide it well. You would never tell.
No, we had to really, really drag it out of you.
I know it's although it is listening to it, it's like the owner of I don't know, an Aston Martin complaining that the Ferrari is faster.
My high elves aren't as good as those dark elves. Oh, sorry, high elf player.
I should clarify. I'm not bitter against the Dark Elf army list. I'm bitter because people have a go at high elves and just seem to miss out the fact that the Dark Elves are better than them.
You want to clean your tears up with your Banner of the World Dragon?
Well, they should be mass produced. Anyway, after that rant, yeah, we'll have a palate cleanser with the dwarf book. Can be good.
Steve's expertise, but I think dwarfs are a solid book personally.
They are a solid book. Yeah,
I had them listed as a B on my list.
I was going to say B.
It's somewhere between a C and a B.
I think
if it's a B, it's definitely the bottom end of B.
It's the low. Yeah, it's a tough one because I think they're better than the things we've got in C currently.
If you fight against them, maybe it's just the problem with the dwarf army is that its artillery's great. It's got lots of good troops that are expensive, but they're good.
But it's really, really slow, and it's got no magic.
Really slow. So if you're up against something that can take out war machines quite easily, I mean, there's a lot of things that can take
There's a
out
lot
war
that can
machines
do that.
easily.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Then you're just running around the table going, I can't engage anything. It's very hard to get.
And when you say
big
running,
distance.
you mean staggering forward 6 inches?
Yeah.
No, actually, you're probably right.
Even with the strollers lists where, you know, you can vanguard a lot of units and all that kind of stuff, they have that ability. But then once you've moved,
you're still stuck at 6
you're
inches.
still stuck there at 6 inches. So against any kind of fast list, it just gets avoided and gets ganged up on.
No, I think you're probably right. To be honest, it's probably a C rather than a B. It's probably just a better C than the two we've got there.
Yeah, I think so. But I think I was looking at the armies I've got in B. It's a tricky one. It really is a tricky one.
No, I must admit, I'm looking at the armies I've also got in B, and I think the other ones I've put in there personally are better than Dwarfs.
I think the Dwarfs, they do one type of list well, but you can't really, or it's difficult to make a different kind of list. And my friend Gavin, who was on the show ages ago, he said that there's things in the Dwarf, is a big Dwarf player, that like there always auto-includes, which an auto-include is a bad thing, because it's like you're immediately writing off another load of stuff because you must take this in the list or it doesn't work, such as the gyrocopters. Which you would say that's an auto include in the list.
I think the previous incarnation of the book was a lot better.
I must admit, I think the old book was a better book.
It had more broken things in it, but it made Dwarfs more competitive. Hammers only had one attack each, which was fine, but it had things like the Master Inner Challenge in there, the Anvil, which allowed you to move. Even if the Anvil in this edition allowed you to move but not charge, that would make Dwarfs a lot better. It wouldn't be an auto include, but it would make it a lot better.
I think you're right. With all those things said, I think it's definitely a C. It's a good, solid book, but it does a certain type of list very, very well. And that's kind of, after that, you're really stretching thin.
So when you play them, because I play them quite a lot, if you get past turn 2 to 3 and your army's still in pretty good shape, you're probably gonna do all right, because then you're in combat, the shooting's finished, and they're tough, but unless
there's only
hammers.
A couple of units that are really going to kill stuff, and that's hammers, layers to a certain degree, just because they get to attack even when they die. See, it's almost like they have 2 attacks each. And,
but they're going to die for their win.
That's anything where you have to die to get your extra bonus is pretty bad.
But it means you're doing damage, because like the great weapon stuff, you've got to have a lot of them because they're going to be attacking last, which means they only have a 5-up save with heavy armor, and a lot of the combat units that are going to be running at them are going to chew through that quite easily.
Yeah, like so great weapon armed anything
very quickly.
Great weapon armed elf is going first, and that's going to cut straight through the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, warriors with halberds. You know, any kind of cavalry charging in, any kind of monster. So you might do a little bit of damage back, and it's easy to make them stubborn. But I find that if you're not winning the combats, being stubborn just means you sit there and die.
You die slower.
Yeah, it's slower.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter, does it? Because if they're dying slower, then
they're still dying.
You're still dying, and you're still chewing through the units that you need to kill.
I mean, you could say that, you can hold it up and then flank charge them with other units, etc., etc. But I think if you solo charge a single unit into a dwarf line with no backup, then you're kind of expecting that unit to die anyway.
Yeah, you wouldn't really do that.
For me, it's a solid C.
Shall I put it at the front of the C?
Yeah, I think it's probably up at C. Yeah.
Everyone's favourite next, then, the High Elves.
Is it? Do you think it's true that High Elves are come through the most hated army in 8th, because you see so much of them? They've got the single most broken item in the game.
I don't pay any attention to other people's hatred.
Do you not think, they're just the Alariel, White Lion Horde, Banner of the World Dragon, Double Frost Phoenix build. That's why High Elves are genuinely disliked, because it just is the list that you see so many of certainly in tournament play.
Yeah, but it's a good list.
I didn't say it wasn't a good list.
And we're not factoring in lists in this, as we
But
said.
that's why they hate it. I mean, High Elves are an A. Like
I had them as an A.
Yeah, they're almost as good as Dark Elves, but most importantly, they're not.
Well, that's comprehensive.
That probably sums up the book quite well, doesn't it?
I think Mark should say, recorded, that High Elves are not as good as Dark Elves.
I won't say that, but I will say the rules in their book are not as efficient as the Dark Elf book, because the Dark Elf book is.
Is it safe to say that you agree that High Elves aren't as good as Dark Elves?
You're not going to get me to say it. So the best you can do is the High Elf rules are not as mechanically efficient as the Dark Elf rules.
But I think it's still a solid book.
Oh, it's still an incredible book.
There's not many weak units in there. And they're still always strike first elves. They've got lots of good options. You can do multiple different lists with them. You could do fast monster cavalry lists.
You can do a monster mash, quite cool. Cavalry, cool. A gun line list.
I think they've got. Well, I'm biased here, but I like their monsters. I like the Prince on the Star Dragon is. I think even if he just gets shot with a cannon, but I think he's just cool.
Yeah, it's cool. They've got the Dragon Mage, which is just inherently, like, who doesn't love that as a concept? It's just cool.
Yeah, I love the Dragon Mage, both as the fluff and the model.
Yeah, and I personally, I love the Lawmaster as well. Like, it's this crazy mage that wields a great weapon, like just mastering the art of swordsmanship and magic. I just think that is cool as well. Like, High Elves they're just very, very good. They're clearly like one of the better books in the game. It's very well written. It's very well balanced. Like, when I say balanced, I mean like within the book, not against everybody else, because it's not.
I think they've got the book's got very thematic rules, like the citizen levy, sort of militia, the fight martial prowess, the fighting 3 ranks. That's really useful because it's shooting as well. So you don't have to take as many models to get the same amount of firepower as you would have fighting in 2 ranks. It's things like that, which is really helpful, and especially when you multiply it with the hordes.
Feels like an elite army.
Yeah, it does.
With the core, makes it feel like an elite army, and
it feels like a Alpha Strike army.
You can run a really good High Elf list essentially with just characters and core.
I have done.
I know you have, you filthy man. Did it by any chance have a level 4 Shadow Mage in it, Steve?
It did, with the old Book of Hoeth, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. They've got some very solid magic items like the Book of Hoeth.
Solid in regards to magic items about High Elves is potentially the biggest understatement I've ever heard.
They are quite good, but we haven't got time to discuss any more of that.
Drop it in the tier and move on, are you?
They've got excellent monsters as well.
I really love the High Elf monsters. Like
Frost Phoenix is just outrageous.
Yeah,
and I love Star Dragons.
Yeah,
and like it's fun to. I know, like, I have used the White Lion Death Star Horde previously, but I like making the other ones, the other types of lists. Like I took the All Dragons and Frosties list to the North Remembers last week. That was a genuinely frightening and new experience. Like, what the hell do I do with this? But I've also done like gun lines, like you're saying, with archers and Sisters of Avalon and bolt throwers and things like that. And there's so many different combinations that you can do with the list that I've played them exclusively since I got back into 8th, and I'm still not bored of them.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about the army, to be honest, because you can keep mixing up quite comfortably. Like, it's just a very, 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 very strong book. And if it wasn't for the extra bits that the Dark Elf book has over the top of it, it would comfortably be one of the best books out there.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it? I mean, they're still,
But yeah, it's an excellent book. There's no doubt in it. High elves are an incredibly powerful force.
and they've got access to high magic, which is one of the better laws in the game.
Yeah.
So I think A is about fair. Well, it might change. I don't know, depending on what else comes in the A tier.
I don't think anything's knocking that off an A spot. Personally, I don't know who you're trying to kid.
Yeah, I mean they might go up, but
They're not going to go up. They can stay down there below the dark elves where they belong.
I don't like this. There's something not right about it. Can we not have like S to the side instead? Anyway, Lizardmen.
No, I love Lizardmen. I've played them for a long, long time. It's probably the army I've had the longest through all different editions. They're a good list. They don't do anything amazingly relative to other armies be able to do it. Their generic build from a tournament list is quite one-dimensional if you want to be competitive with them, which is essentially running a majority skink cloud list, which is fun to play but not particularly fun to play against.
Yeah.
Like bunker and normally a life slan into a unit of Temple Guard. But if you're not super arsed about the competitive side of it, that's not the list I tend to play. But sources are really actually good.
I'd say they've got some really solid core troops.
Yeah, sources are really good. They just peel away in the meta when you can run a crazy skink cloud. I've ran a list with 96 skinks in with poisoned attacks, which was just wild.
But their special rules are really good. Like cold-blooded is you're not gonna, much less likely to break, and they're good troops anyway. The Saurus. And
fun things. You can run like a monster mash list as well, which
I have seen them. The
fun
dinosaur builds.
Yeah, really fun. And who doesn't like playing with dinosaurs?
No, everybody likes that. Almost as good as dragons.
So where would you put them, Scott?
I initially had them. Trust, I had them somewhere between a B and a C, and I'm still not sure which one I would drop them in.
I had them as B.
Yeah, they're solid. They're a good list. They're not a powerful list, but they're a really, really solid list. And if you know what you're doing with them, they can be very good.
Is which other armies have got like cheap core troops with access to poison? Because that's in circumstances like
Dark Elves.
Yeah, no, I had them in my list as a B. Their lords are good. I mean, the fact that you can also make a Cold One cowboy is just one of the funnest things. Like 1-up armor save, lizard with a great weapon, riding another lizard. Like, let's do this.
But the characters are like the slans are one of the better magic users in the game. But it just becomes very expensive if you start tooling them up.
You can sink a lot of points into them.
And then you're one miscast away from all that points going down the drain.
Importantly, you don't have to sink a lot of points into them on top of how they come though to be good, because they're already a level 4 with a 4-up ward serve.
Yeah, you're not paying for that talisman of preservation for them, and then all the what they call is it the plaques or that they can have? Because
the gifts of the old
gifts
ones.
The old ones, that's it.
I always like running mine as a ethereal, and then you run around the back going woo.
I used to love that in the old book when you used to run double slan, your general on life in the Temple Guard, and then a fly and ethereal death slan. They were good times.
Speaking of death, that's a big weakness for the Lizardmen army.
Initiative is not cool.
Yeah, initiative and weapon skill, to be fair.
Yeah, they're both terrible. Like, your highest weapon skill in the book is 6. It's just not great. And I think your highest initiative is your skink.
And the skinks are only toughness 2, aren't they? So they start dying to,
anything.
Bows, anything,
It's when, I mean, the Saurus are good, but when you start putting them up against combat units from other books, they start dying quite a lot simply because they're always being hit on 3s and they're always hitting on 4s.
Yeah.
So you're always taking more damage a lot of the time than you're giving out.
Another thing I've noticed about that is because of the size of the slan, it does it. For some, I don't know if this is just psychological. Or, to me, it doesn't seem like there's that many models to chew through before you've got rid of most of the unit, because the slan's taking up the space of 4 models instead of 1. I know it's not much, but it's when you're talking elite infantry like Temple Guards, things like that. That's more cost to get that unit to a decent size.
Yeah. No, and that's like they do some things really well, which is why I think I'd put them as a B. But they're no better than that in my eyes.
Yeah, they're very solid. They've got
They're a
decent
good, solid
movement,
list.
plenty of options.
They'll always give you a good you'll always get a good game out of them. Any matchup you get, you can always at least fight your own to a point. But when they come up against the elite forces, they die.
Yeah, it's like a critical existence failure for them, isn't it? Once you chew through that unit with the slan in, the slan's also usually the BSB, so you only have to break them. If it's not, well, Temple Guard won't break. And then he explodes no matter what. And then the general BSB in one model, the highest mage, one model, is all dead at the same time.
I think do lots of fun things, like some of the builds that you can make for your slan and your other things are really good. But
I like that. I'd say I'm going negative on them. I like them. I think the Saurus are good infantry. The Skinks are very, very, they're quick. They've got all the skirmisher rules. They've got poison. So I think all the core is pretty good. It's just a bit, they're not in this.
Oh
They're not
no,
in the
they're
ANS.
definitely at the upper middle tier.
Mm.
If you were to sort of describe it as such.
Yeah, I agree. Solid, but not outstanding.
Yeah, agreed.
Except Teto Echo, who's pretty good.
Oh, what a ledge.
And he's flying hover chair.
He's infantry. Okay.
All right.
You leave Teto Echo alone.
Okay.
All right. That guy's done nothing to hurt anybody.
Well, unless he's dropped a comet on the head. But so the Ogre Kingdoms, which I don't think this is the art of the book, but never mind. These are sort of like there is one way to play them. It's similar to the Dwarfs. It's just bus full of Ogre Bulls and charge at the enemy as soon as you can.
Shocking, Mark. That's opposite of the list I took to Cardiff. But yes, that's the general list which people comes up with, and I think that is the fault of the lore, because all the more spells that are good ones are like got a range of 12, so you're constantly hunkering around your level 4 to get the benefit of it, and it kind of leans itself towards a bus type approach where you're just buffing one unit constantly and trying to make it work. I had them actually as a D.
Yeah,
because they've got massive weaknesses.
Yeah, they do have really glaring weaknesses. Played really well, they can do really well, but I think when you're looking at the book as a whole, I think it's weak, to be honest.
Yeah, I think once you get over that psychological, because I've played them a few times, and once you go like, oh, that's a lot of like 3 wound infantry. But once you get over that, like actually, it's only 3 models worth, and then when they start like taking wounds and suffering, and the units rapidly diminishing in size, like, well, this isn't really that much of a problem.
If you let them play their tactics well and get you undamaged.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, that's if they manage to rush at you and get to you how they want to get to you, then they're amazing. But like you say, if they need to be let to do that to become a really good force.
The issue is, I mean, they haven't got much armor, so strength 3 shooting can whittle the units down quite well. Then when they get there, they haven't got good weapon skill, so They're not
Or
hitting
initiative.
particularly well, or initiative. They're
And they're
taking
not
damage
actually
before they
that
get to
tough.
swing.
They're only toughness
And then-
4.
Yeah.
A
And
lot
then they're
of the
not
same issues. Oh, sorry,
hitting
Steve.
back much when
Yeah.
they do that because they've got weapon skill 3.
It's
And
the
then
same
they've
issue
got
that
low
we're talking
leadership,
about with
so they don't stick around.
Yeah. It's the same issue we had with the Saurus, but they've also got poor LD on top of it. They take a lot of damage before
They're a
they
bit
can
faster, but
They're faster for sure. They also really dislike any initiative tests.
yes.
I've played them, and you know when they're in range, and it was against the White Lion Horde, and I was just thinking, please charge me, please do it, and then because you've got to do it if you're not charging the boss in, it's a waste, isn't it? You've got one choice really if that's the build you've gone for, and hit the White Lions, who just killed them all. Yes, they go on first. They're strength 6, so toughness 4 is nothing. They're winning them on 2s. Much higher weapon skill, and there's so much more White Lions than there are of the ogres.
Yeah.
So you just blend them, they break, and you run them down with the characters. But they
Which
do
is why
have.
I don't go the boss list because it's. I mean, when the book first landed, they were really good because the Mournfang Cavalry was the first. I think it was the first monstrous cavalry unit in the game.
Yes, and what I will say, their cannon is comfortably one of the best cannons.
I was going to say
Yeah.
the chariot cannon thing. That's really good.
Yeah, it is, and the Mournfang now are decent, but again, I think they're still toughness 4.
Yeah.
And the 2-up save just isn't quite enough. They're still good, but I mean, if you look at like Right's Guard or Skull Crushers or all the other monstrous cav that's come since, they're kind of a bit better than them. So when they first arrived, they were excellent, but now they've been supplanted.
If we did this tier list at the early 8th edition, there'd probably be an A list. But as the edition's gone on, they've just sunk further and further down, in my opinion.
Because there's bits of the book that you just never see, like Yetis. Are they still in it? I don't know.
Don't say that. Steve takes Yetis.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yetis.
He's not the example. He's the outlier.
He absolutely is the outlier. He's an animal.
It's small units. Yetis are great. They're fast. They've got swift stride. They're flanking units. So
yes,
if you get your bus into something with the Yetis in the flanks, they're not dying to a stiff breeze because there's not too many attacks coming back. Then it can help mitigate the weapon skill issues because you're -1 weapon skill. So a lot of things that would be hitting on 3s are now hitting on 4s, and it evens it up.
Or zombies that hit on can't attack.
Or zombies that can't attack you. I love that.
That's the most hilarious thing I've ever been a part of, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes, ran my Yetis that's got zombies, and then they just sat there chewing through the unit.
It's slowly killing the poor zombies who couldn't attack because they had effective weapon skill 0. Because the Yeti's special rule does not state to a minimum of 1.
Yeah, so it can take it down to 0, which means they don't get to attack.
Does it
and it
stack
also
as
hits.
well?
No, I don't think it does.
But yeah, I agree though. Overall, I had Ogres as a D. I think some of their stuff in the list is brilliant. But as an overall book versus the other books, not for me. And I had Ogres and I played them. They're good fun. They're fun to play.
They're fun to play against as well. Taking anything away from them, but strength-wise, it's. I think it is difficult to get them to work, even if you play them in the strongest way that you think you can play them. You're not guaranteed of much success.
I mean, if they could take Rhinox units, they'd be up to a sort of B level.
Oh yeah, I mean those Rhinox rules are comfortably one of the most broken units in the game.
Are they the Forge World ones?
Yeah.
The experimental rules. It's essentially what it was, the precursor to Mournfang, wasn't it? It was their first. It was Games Workshop's first dabble into monstrous cav.
Yeah, and they looked
and
and
realised how absolutely broken it was. It was like, no, Mournfang.
I'm sure Liam brought a wall of them to one event. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I mean, What a
took-
dirty guy.
I can't remember.
2 units of 4, did he not?
It was
Absolute
yeah.
monster.
It was
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. Otherwise, he'd clearly have no friends playing that sort of list.
That's why you can't associate. Like, hang on, he's brought that. No, that can't be right. Something must be wrong.
Yeah, right, Knox, get out of here.
You're just a
I
moving
mean, I
clip.
took a unit of 3 to Cardiff, and on the games when I won big, it was just the Ogre army clapping while the Rhinox just went through the entire army.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're so low, because the Rhinox aren't actually part of the list.
Yeah, and they've got nothing that can really stack up to other books' elite units.
Yeah.
They've got a lack of like ward saves, the high armor, stuff like that. It's you can't really rely on the toughness because it's not that great. They're supposed to buff the characters up and load them up with stuff, aren't they? But that usually descends into the what's it called, Fencer's Blades build and stuff like that.
Yeah, the generic build's boring.
The thing is, the generic build is usually a Slaughtermaster with Fencer's Blades and a ward save.
Yeah. On
But,
more.
yeah.
Yawn.
But it's not going to kill much. It's not going to die very easily because they can heal themselves. But it's not going to kill much either, and that's the problem. They'll usually get outground.
It's one of the few casters you can take Forbidden Rod on, though, because you can afford to take the wounds.
Yeah.
Just for a bit of positivity about them.
Yeah, I think we've been very
And
negative
they
on them.
Hellheart.
They are, yeah, Hellheart. That's one of the most.
Oh, I mean, that is just outrageous.
Yeah. Just put one on a magic carpet. Hellheart.
The magic carpet goes to my Firebelly.
Yeah, the Flyrant, the Flybelly.
Yep.
Yeah, bits of like the cannon, the Hellheart. There's bits of stuff in it.
Yeah, they've got bits in their army incredible. It's only when they only drop that low when you start ranking them up versus effectiveness overall.
I think D's fair. I didn't have it high. I didn't have them higher than a D.
Yeah.
Orcs featuring goblins.
I think if most people play it as goblins featuring orcs.
You don't see many orcs, do you? At all?
Apart from the massive Savage Orc block, you mean?
You mean that massive Savage Orc block with the level 4 Savage Orc Shaman with the lucky shrunken head? Yawn. I mean, it's incredibly effective, but yeah. Flanked by units of night goblins with fanatics, and then a gun line behind it of all of the war machines that are about 4 points.
I was literally going to say there's
4 points for a spear shot or whatever ridiculous point it is.
There's a goblin artillery park behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild that the most effective Orc and Goblin list is a gun line. I don't know when that happened, but that's what happened with 8th edition. Orc and Goblins became this.
Yeah, keep them out of combat. List. Don't go anywhere near combat. Just shoot everything until it comes close to you.
And if something comes close to you, it's all right. You can screen them with fanatics and manglass squids.
You know, at Graham's tournament last year.
All my tactics here, Scott.
I mean, don't take any of that as bitter. Like, Orc and Goblin is one of the best books to read. It is just absolutely outrageous.
At Graham's tournament last year, I think I played every game had an Orc and Goblin element in it. Like, yep, fanatics again, is it? Oh, what a surprise.
Oh, is that unit of 20 got 3 and has it? I am shocked. Oh, they've also got netters. So, oh, brilliant.
Minus 1 strength, is it? Oh, you've rolled a 1. Brilliant.
Yeah. Love them.
Yeah.
Love Orc and Goblins.
They are fun to play. And you can't ever really take too much away from each game, because one game everything could explode, or the next game everything could go perfectly well and you annihilate your army. So
I rank them as a B personally, because I think the thing, if you want to actually make a strong Orc and Goblin list, it is really, really easy to make an incredibly good Orc and Goblin list.
Yeah,
however, you can make an appalling Orc and Goblin list if you so choose.
That's the trouble, because the top Orc and Goblin lists are really, really good.
Yeah.
However,
bad ones are appallingly bad.
yeah, and if you look at it whole as a book, most of the units in it are not that great. It's just a few of them are amazing.
Yeah.
And
They've got
if you
the
just
breadth
take those
of
ones,
choice as well, though, is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's got
but
such
there's so much
a lot
you
of
never
crap.
see.
such variety that you could play so
I mean,
many different varieties of the same army.
You never see boar boys, you never see snotlings, you never see river or stone trolls generally.
Do you ever see normal goblins as opposed to night goblins?
No, never see normal
Loser.
goblins.
No such thing as a normal goblin. It's night goblin only. And they come
That's the
with
thing.
mechanics.
Because if you can make a really good list, and the top tier Orc and Goblin list is, I would say, almost an A.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's that good. But then
But a bad
the
one.
worst one is like trash. Orc boys, you don't generally see general Orc boys or
Nah.
Arab boys. There's so much in the book you don't see. So if you're looking as a
Part of the
strength,
problem with that, though, is that there's so much in the book.
yeah,
Like,
true.
the book is just so full because you could split it, but because there's so many choices to make a full orc list of various different types or a full goblin list of various different types. Never mind then blend them together.
Or
It's
a
just,
full night goblin list with no normal goblins.
yeah, they're spoiled for choice. I mean, I've still got them. I had them as a B because I just think they can be incredible and they're fun.
I had them at C just because they're bang in the middle and they could go, depending on how it goes, they could go really well or they could go disastrously wrong.
I think if pushed, I would go for a B over a C simply because I think it's easier to win big with Orcs and Goblins than it is with any of the other armies in
Yeah,
C.
that's true
Yeah.
compared to what else is here.
I think they essentially do a gun line as well as dwarfs, but they're faster.
Yeah, they haven't got movement 3. And what's the stuff like the Mangler Squig and just like, what the hell is coming at me? Yeah.
It's so cheap. It's not even funny. Like they do a dwarf list better than a dwarf does, which is like upsetting to say the least.
Like one of my 10 artillery pieces broke. So what?
Yeah. Oh no! What a shame. I lost one of my doom divers. Don't worry. There's 4 more.
You don't see like the big war so much there other than Foot of Gork.
There's 2 spells in the Big War, which are Ace.
Hand of Gork and Foot of Gork.
Yeah.
Hand of Gork. Basically, Gork is the man.
Yeah. Everything else is just that you're taking it for one of those 2 spells.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for me, I think I know where you're coming from about putting them as a C, but for me, they're better than the other things that are in C.
Yeah, compared to that.
That's why I'd put them up with Lizards.
Yeah,
I think, generally.
I had them in the same sort of tier list as Lizards.
They've got a lot of their stuff has got armor piercing and stuff like that. And it's high strength, like the Fanatics armor piercing, aren't they?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Doom Divers armor piercing.
Oh yeah.
So
they're not fun to play against with a high like a knight.
No, the Doom Divers, no armor save.
I'm saving as well. Sorry. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good. I think the most competitive Orc and Goblin build is probably an A.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because I think it's
just nasty.
so good.
But
you're right, as a whole
group,
I think it's a B. Yeah.
Well, another random army, the Skaven.
Lovely.
I had that as well.
I had Skaven as a B. I actually had them as probably the strongest. I think they're stronger than Lizards and Orcs and Goblins.
Yeah, because if it goes well for them, they can rip through all of that.
Some of the options that they've got, like an A-bomb, is just incredible.
Like they've got excellent magic.
Yeah, magic's amazing. They're just the sheer ability to throw units away or tie units up in combat and then still continue to pound them with shooting as well. It's just Skaven are amazing, and they're when I
first got back into Fantasy 8th edition, I had a Skaven army. I've still got one, and it wasn't until you play a few times where you realise that why even try to win these combats? Just keep this trash holding up the good stuff as long as you can,
Yeah.
and just shell everything else.
It's like people who buy shields for their slaves. No,
Why?
no. You just buy more slaves.
Yeah. The slaves are the shields.
Yeah. Yeah. They're honestly, like, anyone who thinks Skaven are underpowered is a lunatic. They're just so good. Like, I think they're better than the things that we've got in B, but they're not as good as the things that go in A.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them in A because they're just a little bit random and
they are too random to beat A.
predictable.
Yeah, but they're
And
definitely B.
the cost of things as well. Like, was it a warp lightning cannon is 90 points?
Everything in your army is expendable except your general and your BSP. Like, everything else is expendable.
Who you keep way back. You've got 3 layers of things between the enemy and your general.
Is that Clan Rat Bunker for you? Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay.
Is it going anywhere near the enemy? Nope. Staying right here.
Yep. But they're just amazing. Like, they're so fun as well to play. Like, I keep thinking about getting Skaven again, and then every time I do, though, I think about painting for like 500 rats and think, no.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I'm okay.
I can never going, oh, not that many rats. And the trouble is, I don't particularly like the basic clan rat model.
No.
And so painting 200 of them is just puts me off.
And when you say 200, you really mean 400.
It's not a zombie list.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. Like, painting you paint 200 basic Skaven, then you paint some of the other. Yeah, it's just. But they're amazing anyway. Like, they're definitely one of the strongest bees for me.
I like the revelations if you're playing Skaven. Like, why am I buying clan rats? Why am I not just buying more slaves? Yeah. Clan rats are nah.
You take clan rats. You take 1 unit of clan rats for your bunker unit.
Yeah, that's it. And just the interaction, their special rules are really good and really thematic. Yeah. Rank value to leadership.
When we're talking about like fluff of an army as well, like, I think their rules really well sum up the fluff of the army. They're just brilliant. They're fun.
Verminous valor, because if you refuse a challenge, they hide and that you don't lose the effect of the character.
You can still use his LD. You still have your reroll. He's just in the get him. Oh, you're dead. Next.
They've got some really nice army-specific magic items as well, like Foul Pendant and stuff. Doom Rocket, a Brass Orb, Warp Stone, Warp Shard Armor, is it?
Yeah, no, they're a really strong book. They're a really fun book.
And there's plenty in it. There's loads and loads of options in it. There's and different combinations, like the little weapons teams, things like that. Yeah. You try them
weapons
out.
Teams, Plague Monks, Storm Vermin,
Doom Wheel,
Night Runners, Doom Wheel, A-Bomb, Plague Furnace, Catapult.
You can pretty much every unit in the book can work.
Yes.
I would say, apart from maybe the A-Bomb, which has gone down a little bit because you can deal with it, but none of them are so amazing to be overpowered. They just work well together.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. All of their options are good. They're all just good. And when it goes horribly wrong, it's so cheap you don't care.
You look at it and they've got low leadership, but there's so much going on to mitigate and get rid of that low leadership problem.
Sorry, once you've got them in their inevitable bus formation, they've got LP10, so it doesn't matter. Oh, my LD's only 4 normally. Oh, well, it's 10 now. Sorry.
Or like Screaming Bell, where it's like now it's the unit's unbreakable. So you've got like 70 rats. Like, how am I supposed to chew through this? What a mistake charging that was.
Yeah. Nah, they're probably the strongest of the bees.
Yeah, I think we'll have them at B.
Makes me think about doing a monochrome now. Monochrome Skaven army.
There's another zombie Skaven horde.
Yeah.
Just do some Ghost Skaven, do them ethereal.
Yep.
Bit of contrast with the thematic blue.
Oh, yeah, contrast was designed to paint the Skaven army, to be fair.
Where are we? Oh, the faction that says Skaven are just a myth. The Empire.
Yeah. I'm going to go straight on and say I put Empire as a B because I think they're just probably they just do everything.
Yeah, they're
Everything.
they're a good place to start with this game, I would think.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
can do everything. They can do lots of things well. They don't do anything as outstanding as many other lists, but they're just whether the Empire. Everyone knows them. They all what they say on the tin. Like you want a gun line, do it. You want a cavalry list, do it. You want like troops,
Infantry hordes. You can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, they can do anything. Their characters are cheap. They're good options. Artillery's amazing. The
Full
stand
access, they've got access to every law of magic, which
every law of magic.
A
The
lot of
rest of it.
synergy going on between the units
Yeah,
and
They're
characters.
they're so good. I don't know where you guys put them. I just had them as a really comfortable B.
yeah, I would
Yeah,
put
I
them
would
B
say
tier.
definitely on a par with all the Bs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're probably they're better than Lizardmen and Orc and Goblin from probably they're up there with Skaven as an upper B if that makes sense.
Yeah, and they've got so
In my
much
mind.
like again, it's all that different things they can do, but they've got some interesting stuff like the flagellants and stuff like that. If you want to go that way, the witch hunter's quite interesting.
Even more interested with the Ruby Ring of Ruin, isn't he, Steve?
Or this killing blow.
Yes,
really,
yeah, it never comes off. Never comes off. It'd be
But it's good to
hilarious if it ever did.
It's good to throw a couple of dice at though, isn't it?
Yeah. I really like Witch Hunters. I think they're really good good choices.
Yeah,
For
and
50
again,
points you get is it magic
amazing.
resistance 2. That's 30 points on a magic item for a unit anyway. So
Yeah.
for 20 points you're getting a hero model that can snipe and killing blow stuff.
You can give double pistols, dude,
Which
just to be
is-
cool.
Yeah, which is leadership 8, so you can give
Yeah.
a flanking unit leadership 8 if you want.
I think they've got so many tricks to the Empire. You can build so many types of lists. They do everything well.
Steam
If not
tank as well.
outstanding. Yeah, I mean the Steam Tank, and they've got the Hell Blaster, two of my
Hellblaster,
favorite things.
Yeah. Stubborn 1-up save Cav,
Oh, yeah.
Demigriff Knights.
That's a big thing with them, is it the access to full plate.
Yeah, and Demigriffs are so big for monstrous cav. They're cheap as well. They're cheap for a 1-up armor save unit.
Yeah, they're probably
Monstrous cav.
what I think of as the archetype of monstrous cavalry.
Yeah, for me, they're the second best monstrous cav that I can think of.
And you've got the Emperor himself, of course.
And the other thing as well, like look at sort of all the wild things they come up against, like chaos, vamps, like demons, monsters, dinosaurs. They're just dudes with guns and dudes with halberds. And they're like, what the hell? How did this happen? Like, Carl Franz, what a guy! What a guy!
Was it the Empire's built? Was it steel, faith, and gunpowder?
Yeah,
Those little buffs like the warrior priests. I love
Friends,
them.
yeah.
It's not game breaking, but 5 ward saving combat.
Nothing in the Empire book is game breaking, but everything's good and like Steve said it earlier, like it just synergizes very well.
Yeah, I think this is a solid B.
Yeah.
Speaking of solid something,
Let's just put them where they belong and move on. Like what the ultimately disappointing army.
it's such a shame.
Some of the best fluff ever written.
Yeah.
Some of the best background.
Some of the best
Some of the-
models.
Some of the most beautiful models ever sculpted. And then they made some rules for them, and they're just absolute trash.
I mean, it was the first book out, but clearly the other writers thought, nah, I'm not following that.
Yeah, it's just poor. Just poor.
Where do we start with what's wrong with Tomb Kings? They can't march.
They can barely res their own troops. They can't heal their constructs properly.
Yeah. The magic
can't
is
do-
extremely overcosted.
It's actually more difficult to say what's good about Tomb Kings other than all of the things we've mentioned. Their fluff, their story, their models. Like I love seeing Tomb Kings on the board. They're incredible. Love playing against them because they're just lovely. They're just really, really, really poor.
They have no access to such luxuries as heavy armor.
You've got You can build a light council and do well with relatively well with them, or you can build a big horde of bowmen with Khalida.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, isn't it?
But you see a big, but then you just run a unit of five Reichsguard knights that are stubborn one up Warhammer says at them, and then you can chuck anything else you want at them and you kill them.
You've just
Like,
taken out the game.
They're just poor. Like, they're just really poor,
Like
which is a shame.
the big constructs are like, even the, what's it called, the Necrosphinx. It's got a killing blow attack, but it's just one attack. It doesn't have the rule heroic killing blow. It just one of its attacks got it. It's things like that that just seems unnecessary.
It's like, so whoever wrote the book hates them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real shame.
You need to edit some. You need to put this in trash. Edit some sad music, and then we'll all just have a moment to cry for how poor they are, and then move on with our lives.
Aren't the skeleton horsemen probably the worst unit in the game?
It's fast cav comfortably in the game.
No, not the fast cav one. The non-fast. What used to be skeleton heavy horsemen, but they had to change the name.
Yeah, because there's nothing heavy about them.
It doesn't wear heavy armor. He doesn't have a lance. He can't march. He's a skeleton. He's strength 3 or 4 with a spear on the charge. With a range of what? 8, 7? Is there a purpose for this model anywhere?
No. Trash them.
Yeah.
Like, just trash them. There's just not anything nice to say about them. Bless them.
It's unfortunate
I really want them to be good, or at least competitive. But...
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you say you turn
them to be competitive. They're probably one of almost everyone. Like, I think they're probably the most liked army in the game, and they're just the most disappointing army in the game.
I love to see them on the board, but
yeah, everyone does. But then it's just a little bit sad when you actually see them in action.
So you say, like, if you turn it to Undead Legions, they become good. But like, I don't want to do that. I want the Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
Oh well. Moving on. Vampire counts. Similar, but done better.
I mean, the only similarity is that they're both undead.
Yeah.
That's where the similarity ends. Because
begins and ends.
Yeah. Vampires are just better in every way, other than they don't have a casket of souls. I put VC in an A slot, personally. When
challenging them. The mighty High Elves are challenging that.
I mean, they're beating the High Elves, Christ almighty. Like, they're a one-trick pony. No, I really like VC. I love the book. I love the lore. Like, it's no surprise. Everyone knows I love VC. They've got probably my favourite unit in the game, arguably, in it. Two of my favourite units. Yes. Yeah, I mean, yes. I love my big, beautiful bats. I shall have no bad words said about them.
There's several bad words said against them.
They're just out there, not hurting anyone, flapping around, having a bit of a scream.
Is there someone on top of that big bat with a sword that does a very similar thing?
In my list there is, but I mean, not competitively, because he dies and then the whole army dies.
But yeah, I'd probably agree, because I think most of the units in the VC book are good. As taken, in the context of the book.
Yes.
Not the stat lines specifically, but
oh no, absolutely. The entire army is immune to psychology, causes fear, doesn't run away.
They've got some excellent units that can really deal out damage. They've got you can run a fast list, you can run a grind list, you can run a mix. They've got some excellent monstrous infantry.
Their magic's incredible.
I think it's Do you think they're more of a finesse army, or?
Oh, I think they're probably the hardest army to play well
Yeah, I would.
in the game.
They're difficult to do right.
Yeah, I think
you need practice with them because they're quite. If you get it wrong,
it's really wrong.
yeah, it's really wrong.
Yeah,
you definitely need to learn how to play them well. But as a strength of a book, it's a very short book.
Yeah, I think they're probably the hardest army to play well until you
Apart
use
from Tomb Kings.
Yeah, I mean, what Tomb Kings like? I've just cut my list off at D. Poor little guys. But yeah, you're right. Yeah,
because they've got a good mix of units. Like you have got your not trash, but your roadblocks and things.
they've got good chaff.
But like even the stuff like the Grave Guard, you take that banner and their weapon skill 3 is now not really a problem. And they've got Killing Blow. And if they've got great weapons, they increase strength. But even stuff like I like the stuff like the Coven Thrones and the
you can build so many different types of mortis engines.
Mortis engine like that.
And unlike Tomb Kings, you can res all your fallen dead back quite comfortably.
Or a new unit that you didn't have when you started the game. You can do that.
Yes, you can.
Spirit Host, one of the most practical swarms in the game.
Probably the greatest 45 points you're ever going to spend.
Yeah, like if you've forgotten to bring something with a magic attack, or the thing with a magic attack is nowhere near the Spirit Host, it's one of the most frustrating things to happen in any game.
And Hex Wraiths as well.
Hex Wraiths. What a unit Hex Wraiths are. Like, they're just so good. Never leave home without them.
Do they have any flaws?
Yeah, your general dies and your entire army dies.
Well, yeah, there's that, isn't it? And if your general's a magic user, there's a higher chance of that happening.
Yeah. I mean, your general's a level 1, like, for clarity. Like, let's not get carried away. Yes, let's not get carried away here and start casting with your general.
Are you not a believer in putting all those eggs in one basket and just having a level 4 vampire?
No. No. I mean, that's the kind of jeopardy that I'm just not okay with when your whole army is dependent on your lord being alive.
Is that what you mean by taking some practice before you realise that that's not a good idea?
I mean, one of the many things. They don't have any shooting. I mean, that's an actual flaw.
Apart from the shrieks, of course. That's kind of shooting, isn't it? So it's a ranged attack. Anyway.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But there's no real
best in the game.
They don't have any long range threat as more point. If you want to take part in the shooting phase, it's not the army for you.
I like it because it's phrased something like, it's not a shooting attack, it's just an attack that happens in the shooting phase.
Yes, exactly that.
Rubbish. Bullshit.
You call it bullshit, are you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not a shooting attack, so you can actually shoot this non-shooting attack into combat. Okay.
Into combat, whilst in combat, out of combat. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff.
It's like the vampires went to the Skaven school of artillery at some point.
Well, it's because the lives of their troops are worth even less.
It's about. Yeah, there you go. There's your fluff reason. So we're saying A tier here.
Yeah.
It's like fighting against them. It's so like you're constantly on edge to say, don't get caught up trying to kill that big unit of zombies because that's just going to tie up your elite stuff. And as an elite army, you haven't got enough stuff to be tied up by hordes of zombies that are going to get regenerated every turn. So it is like if you pin the elite stuff, then you've just got free reign of the board.
I think what's a good thing when you play VC versus High Elf, that's when I think you do appreciate when we're putting them on the same tier. You see that because from power levels, like they do stack up well as well.
Yeah, and when you start doing the things like with the corpse carts, where it gives the zombies always strikes first, like, well, hang on, I thought I'd be chewing through these zombies with no problem, but now the rerolls are gone. You're losing that many attacks.
All of a sudden, you fail a fear test, and it's game on.
Oh yeah, that's not good. fail the fear test and lose ASF, right? So we're just hitting straight on 5s now.
Yeah.
The thing is, I would, if oddly enough, if you put a tournament VC list against the tournament high elf list, I would bet on the VC list.
Agreed. Yeah, if you're taking the most meta list, I would put the high elves. A VC is going to beat the high elves.
Because the VC list will have probably 2 Terrorgeists in it. And high elves have got very little that can deal with Terrorgeists effectively before the Terrorgeists take out all the Phoenixes and all that kind of stuff.
You rely on something like overpowered Soul Quench or the Bolt Throwers or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
But if you don't kill it
just hoping
quickly,
you're
you're going to start getting it healed back.
Because with 6 wounds, isn't it? That's a lot to take off in a short space of time.
Not actually worth that many points either, and you've got to invest.
No.
High elves have to invest a lot to kill a Terrorgeist.
And you don't want to charge your equivalent monsters in because you've got that shooting attack in the.
Yeah, you're just going to get screamed.
Yeah.
Hello, Frost Phoenix.
It won't kill it on the charge, or at least you'll have to be very lucky to kill it on the charge. So if it's still there, even if it's only on 1 or 2 wounds, the chances are it'll get healed up, and then it will scream it to death.
Yeah.
Isn't the best VC tournament build 20 Blood Knights? Isn't that correct?
It should be. I mean, I don't think there's a single tournament that you could fit 20 Blood Knights in because they are the most expensive units known to man.
Frenzy though.
Oh yeah, but that makes it okay.
Which is a bonus or not. Where are we? Warriors of Chaos. I think they're somewhere mid-table.
What? What? You just need to stop this now. You need to get out. I had Warriors as an A.
I had them a B-ish.
Oh,
because
Steve,
it depends. Because
Steve, where did you put Warriors?
It's tricky because I'm going to go between the 2 of you. It's somewhere between A and B.
B plus
or an A minus.
Or A minus.
I mean, I don't think they're as good as High Elves or VC, but I think they're better than everything in B.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're essentially an army of unkillable Vikings with good trash, the best monstrous cav in the game, chimeras, which are ridiculous, the unkillable BSB, like demon princes, and not the shit demon versions, but like the real demon princes, which are
the unbreakable
ridiculous. Version. And then you slam Marcus Slanesh or all the shit that you don't want to panic, and then all of the stuff that matters you put Nurgle on so that they don't get hurt in combat.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the Nurgle list, the Nurgle mark is fantastic. The Slanesh mark is pretty good. But then you got like the Zinch mark, which is that the ward save one?
Yeah, well,
that's the character mark.
Or your sword and board warriors with a 5
sword and board warriors, yeah. What it does is it does very, very well. It does combat and movement very well. It's the lack of shooting and really the lack of magic as well. So you've got to put a lot of points into it. If you're taking you don't really see a sorcerer level 4 generally. You might see some level 2s, unless you get a demon prince on a level 4, and then suddenly you've got a lot in a basket. A lot of things in a basket.
You can take a nasty fly and fairly unkillable sorcerer lord as well.
Yeah, you can, but then that's not a bad option. But then you're not going down the combat.
You can add in a B plus just to stop us arguing about, or an A
I may have to. Yeah, the circumstances have changed.
We're clearly not going to agree that it's an A or a B, so we're just going to make a new one and just pop it in there.
Yeah, it's like the chimeras are excellent. There's still only 4 wounds. I know they've got regen, but a super powered fireball could quite easily kill one.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't feasibly put them in a B though. They're too good for me. But I'm with you. B plus is probably where they are.
Yeah, and you know they do have the best monstrous cav in the game, but that monstrous cav is frenzied, so it can be led around the nose.
Yeah. It does have it has good LD though. I mean, I say good. LD 8, so it's not amazing, but it's not bad.
I think
it's more about
LD is where it's
you can set up overruns.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
you
you
can park
can.
something
Yeah,
in
of
it,
course.
so you know
Yeah.
where it's going to be, and then hit it in the flank. And if
Yeah.
it starts running away, then you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I think the leadership is where they sort of come apart a bit. It's only 1 point better than the standard Empire human.
I mean, Throg and his
But,
the troll friends, a great core option.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it does have its
talk about
weaknesses.
Throg.
Yeah, good book. I think. Yeah, I think we can settle that. It's definitely one of the better books. It's just hard to where you place it on against because it's not quite as good as the elite set of books.
And the odd thing is, I would say, because I think High Elves came after Warriors, didn't they, in the release of the books?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that book made Warriors worse because people started having to deal with lots of Frost Phoenixes, etc. So lists started to become tailored to at least have the ability to take down monsters.
Which
Meant in a Warriors book, you started seeing less Demon Princes and Chimeras because armies had the tools to take them off. And if you take those away, they're still a good book, but they're not up, I think, with the High Elves and the VC.
Yeah, I think they're good things, like the Demon Princes, the Chimeras, the Fly and Disc PSBs. They're good things, are incredibly good, and are probably S tier.
Yeah, it's just that they haven't got it across the board.
Yeah,
no,
that's fair. That's fair.
But I would say they're better.
Do you know how
than
satisfying
Skaven
it is to
and
kill the flying disco lord in one shot? I've done it once.
I once killed one in combat with a Terrorgeist.
I mean, let's be honest, a Terrorgeist never kills anything in combat. It's terrible.
Yeah, I was hitting on 5s, wounding on 4s, and it had a 3-up armor and a 3-up ward.
Amazing.
Yeah, my opponent wasn't happy.
No, I can imagine. So yeah, B plus. Then are we going with
B plus,
your new special?
the new edition.
Just for Chaos Warriors.
Yeah, well, I think that's right because I don't think they're at A tier, but I do think they win the matchups against the B ranked stuff. And they have got flexibility, like the different marks of different jobs, units versus characters, things like that. And the Chimera is the thing I hate most in the game, as it is unkillable.
Well,
so
moved your order around.
Have I?
As in, your demons were last.
Oh yes, they were. Wood elves, not demons.
The worst are of the elves.
Yeah, they don't compare at all to their cousins.
The Wood Elf avoidance list when the Wood Elf book first came out, this 8th edition one, and you first started to see the real Wood Elf avoidance lists. It is comfortably probably one of the worst lists to play against. Like, it's just so not fun and so difficult to pin down. But as time's gone on, it's a good list. They're still elves. They're still always strikes first. They've still got amazing initiatives. They've still got access to incredible magic.
I can see what we're trying to do with this army book, and I think it was a good attempt. In that, pretty much everything else except like gun lines is going for combat, and they try to come up with something where the shooting phase was the most dominant one. It just didn't quite work.
Thing is, in the world of hordes and the other things that 8th brought to the table, that unfortunately, an all-out gun line list without war machines isn't going to win you a game.
Yeah. But they have got they've got some brilliant fast cavalry.
Oh yeah, they have.
And they've got they've got. Is it not the Sisters of the Thorn, or is
Oh,
it
right.
they're like the?
That's
Oh, no, the
just-
Sisters of the Casters, aren't they?
yeah, but
So it's a similar concept to the
it is, except that
Doomfire
the
Warlocks.
writers looked at Doomfire Warlocks and went, "They're amazing. Let's make them shitter and call them Wood Elves."
Yeah, but you can't give them Doombolt. Well, you could actually, because they can do dark magic.
Yes,
can't
you
they?
could. You could give them Doombolt.
You think you give the level 4 Doombolt, yeah, but that's it. The level 2s can't do it, I don't think.
I thought they had all that access to dark.
Yeah, they do. All of their casters can access dark magic and high magic.
So you could give them Soul Quench and
You don't.
Doombolt.
If you're playing Wood Elves, you're taking level 4 on Shadow.
Yes, you are.
Like let's just not pretend that we're going to take anything else. We're taking a level 4 on Shadow.
Give it to some War Dancers.
No one's taking War Dancers. Well, that's the other thing. Like the issue with the Wood Elf book as well is the stuff that you're not going to take. Like you're never going to take. It's cool. The fluff's cool, but they're really the stuff that isn't good is really shit.
I do like how it's sort of, like Orcs and Goblins is sort of two factions pushed together, whereas this is like there's the Elf faction, which you can go all Elf, and there's the Tree Spirit thing, which you can go all Tree Spirit, or you can have a mix.
Except the Tree Spirit
like that.
absolutely battered in this book as well.
It's a real shame because I love Tree Spirit lists.
Yeah,
they're just bad.
Oh yeah, I used to play Wood Elves a lot in 6th, and like Treekin were awesome, and they were always the centre point of my army. And then all of a sudden they became strength 4. Oh no. Yeah.
And Treeman became strength 5.
Treeman became strength 5. Are you taking the actual piss?
Treeman is the same strength as a man-eater, apparently.
Yeah. I'm just not having it. I'm not happy about what they did to Wood Elves, and it still upsets us.
Yeah.
Some good.
I'd put them as a C.
I'd have them as a C as well. That's where I had them.
They've got all the arrow choices though, which it can be useful, but also not really.
If you're coming up against, say, a monster list and you happen to take a lot of Hagbane, like you're literally laughing your way to a 20-0. But yeah, like I say, the things they do well, they do really well. Like their bow shooting is incredible. Like a bow
It's still strength 3 shots, isn't it?
Still a strength 3.
Yeah, so you're shooting on unmodified weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, but it's still a strength 3 shot.
Yeah, or you're taking the poison, but it's still strength 3 with your modifiers to hit. Like, yeah, it's a C. Like they're very much the unwanted cousins of the elf trilogy.
Yeah, that's not to say a good player with a good list can't do well with them, because they can. But that's the same with dwarfs and
or any of them, even like any of them. But yeah, I think overall, and to be fair, added to all of that, I think Wood Elves are another one of the list army books I would put right at the top of difficulty to play well.
Yeah, it's totally different to the way the rest of the armies play.
Right up there with VC, like that like, is one of the hardest armies to play well.
And a Wood Elf army looks different to another army. It's just lots of little blocks of 10s and stuff like that, which the first time you come across it, it's like, well, what am I supposed to point the army at? Once you get over that, it's not, it can have a tragic ending for the forest folk, or hippies, or whatever they're called.
They've got Orion, and he's a massively overcosted point sink.
So that's in their favour, is it?
No, it's just worth saying because
you got a massively overcosted point sink to balance out your army.
Take Orion so you could give your opponent 600 points.
That's the thing we haven't really touched on, is it? Like how effective the massive swing and how useful the special characters are in these armies.
We should just do a one-off talk about the worst special characters in the game for a laugh.
We'll do a special character tier list at some point.
Best and worst special character. Yeah, but I think that's the right place for Wood Elves, though.
The one that we didn't forget, despite what anyone might say, Beastmen.
Oh, I love Beastmen, but I had them as a D.
Do they win the fight with Tomb Kings?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they do. The Doom Bull himself could probably beat the entire Tomb King army on his own.
Yeah, the Doombull is completely the best thing in the Beastman army book.
I think Doom Bull on a flying carpet is well up here, actually.
Well, you can take him either the flying carpet one, or you can take him with the one-up like build where every time he makes an armor save, he gets another attack at you.
Yeah, that's fun, especially against witch elves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Doombull's amazing, and he's completely one of the best characters in the game for me. I love him on a carpet. I love him with just all the other kit out. He's the only reason when he's not on a carpet that you actually sometimes take Minotaurs just to deliver him wherever you want them, because otherwise Minotaurs
Just
are
run him
awful.
solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Beastman army, the problem with the Beastman army is most of the heavy lifting, or if not all the heavy lifting, is done by the characters.
Yeah.
It's either with, the Doom Bulls combat prowess, or even the Beast Lords, leadership and combat prowess, or magic buffing your troops to a semi-competitive level.
But
on
it takes
its own.
a lot of points to do it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. On their own, they're just not particularly good, and they need magic buffs to just become reasonable. I mean,
That's
if
it.
you
They are
get them
cool.
off, they can be good, but
And they're a lovely force. Like, they're a really nice army, really fun, really thematic. Got one of the most hilarious special characters in the game. Multiple options for that, to be honest.
A lot of the special characters are hilarious.
Yeah, they really add, the special characters really bring flavour. I really like Beastmen, but I think they're a D for me.
Yeah, I've seen the bigger monster or monstrous infantry. They're quite fun. But you rely on the characters.
All of the cool monsters as well in Rare are all a minimum of 50 points overcosted.
Aren't they more expensive than Phoenixes?
Yes, of course they are. It's one of the many reasons why everyone's bitter about the Frost Phoenix, and why everyone points at the Beastman book and goes, "Are you kidding?"
Even the
giant, but it was a 7th book, wasn't it?
It's nearly the
7th
same
edition.
as
Yeah, it's poor. And the suffer from that, you can tell. It's a shame. Good fun list, but it's very, very low tier.
Yeah, I mean, you can, as with all of them, you can win with them, but as a book, it's suffered, I think, for being the back end of 7th before 8th was properly released, and they just don't stack up.
Best thing about them is the crazy hatred rule that they've got.
Oh, that's really good. Primal Fury.
Primal Fury is genuinely a very good rule. An LD test, and you keep your hatred. You what? You would.
Yeah,
after that, it's
just a lot of strength 3 coming at you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. After that, it tails off a lot.
What's that one where is it the ambush rule where you've got to have like 2 exactly the same units?
Yeah.
Which can only be Ungor or something like that?
Ungor and Gore.
Isn't it their specific ambush rule is worse than the generic ambush rule in the army book, in the rule book?
Yeah.
One thing that could have made the Beastman army really stand out as a different army to play and made it really a lot more fun.
Made worse than the actual generic rule.
Yeah, all they had to do was just say, starting from turn 1 on a 3-up, it comes on a board edge of your choice. Even Skaven do ambushing better than Beastmen.
Yeah, anybody with ambush does it better than Beastmen.
And so that would have made that army so much better if you got multiple units coming on from all the different board edges, and it would make a complete headache. But no,
just a duplicate Ungor unit. That's all.
I think Gorkan.
Gorkan as well. Yeah, Gorkan as well. I mean, it doesn't make the rule any better for clarity.
Yeah, Minotaurs aren't going to do it.
No, they're poor. They're poor. Good list, good army, really fun. Again, if we're talking just about fluff and thematic fit of the army, like, they'd be right up there. But it doesn't make them any better.
Well, the last one is the Demons of Chaos.
And it's definitely not saving the it's certainly not least.
It's certainly not as it was in 7th.
Oh,
where,
no, it's not. Where you could just take your Horde of Bloodletters and your Infernal Gateway casting Pink Horrors, point and click and win.
Didn't they have?
And
Wasn't that like Deep
Blackhounds.
Strike they could do in 7th?
We could have in 7th. I think you could have Lore Master Tzeentch Wizards on a desk. Because I've come up against that list. Dual Lore Master Tzeentch is on death, and I was playing VC, and one flew up either flank.
And just
Six dice, purple sun to one side, went across, got so much dice back, had 12 dice. The other one just decided to 6 dice purple sun in the other direction, and I had about 10 models left at the end of it.
Well, that was fun. I mean, it is a pale shadow of 7th, in the fact that all of the things that were incredible in 7th are now not. As in, Bloodletters are now absolute trash. Zenith Magic is absolute trash. However, Nurgle Demons are comfortably one of the most powerful things you'll see on a Warhammer Fantasy Battle board. Slaanesh Magic is comfortably one of the most powerful things you'll see on the board. Skull Cannons of Khorne are ridiculous.
That makes no sense. The Blood God's got an artillery section now.
Yeah, it's the only cannon that can grape shot at ballistic skill 5, because obviously that's what Bloodletters are good at, is shooting.
Yeah. And then have a fight afterwards. It's a chariot cannon grape shot fighting
that can heal when it charges into things as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this book could arguably be an S tier alongside Dark Elves. But however, I think what this book, that's because a lot of this book is incredible. It's also an army of unbreakable, unstable, fear-causing demons with a ward.
Not even really unstable.
No, unstable. Sorry, they're just the demonic instability.
So they don't go anywhere, and they may not lose any additional models.
And they are a lot, but all of the Zenith demons are essentially garbage. Most of the Khorne demons are essentially garbage. But Nurgle's amazing.
Nurgle and Slaanesh is where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the only reason I would put them as an A tier instead of an S tier, because if you want to build the best list that you can build, it's comfortably an S. Like, comfortably. But I think you can build some fairly poor lists, like really poor lists. I mean, it was still
the poor list as decent, because it's
still an army of a 5-up ward save that causes fear.
And is unbreakable.
Yes, it's unbreakable. Which is why even their worst lists are still, I would suggest, that allows them to be an A tier army.
They've got that Reign of Chaos as well, which is can be soul destroying. Just another unit of demons just pops up out of nowhere.
Worse. Oh no, I've lost a bit of my board save. That is
so
needed that.
Who cares?
And the other issue with demons is with the current prevalence. I don't know what we're not talking about. We're talking about the individual books, but the prevalence of Banner of the World Dragon is upsetting.
Well, that was allegedly that was a direct reaction to 7th edition demons. In that's why the High Elves got it. Yeah.
But for me, I would have demons still as comfortably an A. They're an army of demons with a ward save that are essentially unbreakable.
I would agree. I mean, beasts are one of the best units in the game.
Oh, easily.
You've got the cannons in rare. You've got the flies in rare, which I think are good.
I think the only issue is, the only reason it's not Ness is because you could look at, if you did a Zenith Khorne list, you're pretty rubbish. If you do Slanesh Nurgle,
all the greater demons are good. Then apart from the plague bearers, demonettes aren't bad.
Demonettes are okay, and they're quite cheap for what you get from them as well.
But they're not what they used to be. And
No.
but yeah,
Bloodletters are a pale shadow of what they used to be.
But they are such a good army.
Oh yeah, I mean, they still got kill and blow.
There's not that much. It's one core choice per god, isn't it?
Yeah. Plague bearers, bloodletters, pink horrors, and demonettes.
Because I really like the mono god list, because I think that's some dedication to the theme. But like a mono god Zinch list isn't going to be.
Oh, I've played a mono god Zinth list quite a few times, and it's not that fun an experience to use, sadly. And it demands that your greater demon does essentially every bit of heavy lifting. Or you have a big pink horror unit that you get lucky on by 6 dice and gateway over and over and over again.
Is that the style? Is that how to do it?
It's not all Zenith is not a good list. Like Flamers were incredible in 7th, so they've been beat down and massively overcosted in 8th. Yeah, the issue is demons have stuff like the bits of demons that are bad is because they were incredible in 7th. But the other half of the demon list is still incredible in 8th.
Nurgle is incredible.
Nurgle is just...
And Nurgle just backed up with bits from the other gods, which are good, is even better.
Yeah, essentially run mono Nurgle with a couple of skull cannons and maybe a level 4 on Slanesh. Bosh.
Demons have done very well in the last few tournaments. Not that we're talking about tournaments, but certainly we were in the age of the Nurgle list last year.
Oh yeah, well, it's just that's the thing is that's the problem when you get too tournament related when we're talking about this. It's just Nurgle. That's the problem. Nurgle carries the book, but it is, even if you take that away, it's still a very good book.
I think all that always on ability. They've always got the ward save on. They've always got the Reign of Chaos just kicking off, which even if it attacks them, it's not going to be a problem much as it is for you.
They've always irrelevant what you take. They're an army that's always got a ward save, always causes fear, is always essentially unbreakable.
They're always immune to psychology. They're always got all that.
Yeah. So
and killing the big one doesn't make the army vanish.
Yes, exactly that.
And you roll that double ones for the break test, and they'll come back.
Yeah. But if you roll a double 6, they'll disappear.
It's all gone. Yeah.
The Chaos Gods give and they take away.
Yes. As Scott found out one time we played him.
Yeah, it's a sad time. It's a sad time.
It wasn't a horde, was it?
It's a pretty big unit, actually.
Yeah, it was a big unit. Is that it? Oh, it's a double 6. Oh.
It was,
I think we lost combat by 1 as well. It was a really sad time to be alive.
I think it was, I can't remember if it was 25 or 30 or something horrors. And they got rear charged by a hobgoblin hero on a wolf.
Yeah.
Lost combat by 1. All 6 popped the entire unit.
It's just you don't have access to such things in other books.
I've not had a lot of. We put out all Zenith list has not had some good times.
See, if I was going to do a demons list, it would be a mono Zenith list, just because.
Zenith's always been my favorite god. But like he's just so bad, and the magic's appalling. Whereas I often run a fly-in demon prince on level 4 on Slanesh, just so you can fly around casting Cacophonic Choir.
Or any of the random movement spells.
Any of the other amazing spells from Slanesh, like it's just such
acquiescence.
Like the whole but yeah, for me, demons are an A list because even their poor options are still demons.
I think that's fair.
Because of how the discrepancy on good to bad demons, you could argue that they're a B+ along with Chaos Warriors.
I think that they come with a ward save is so that's so good, always on.
Yeah.
For an always on ability, and the Reign of Chaos with some extra
And the
hilarity,
psychology. Yeah.
and all those rules, and they don't suffer the same instability that undead do. Yeah, there's no, the downsides are quite toned down for them. So yeah, that's what have we got then? So S tier, standing by themselves, the Dark Elves. A tier,
the best elf.
we'll come back to that. A tier is High Elves, Vampire Counts, and Demons of Chaos. The hastily invented B plus tier is the Warriors of Chaos. B is Skaven, Empire, Lizardmen, and Orcs and Goblins. C is Dwarfs, Bretonnia, Chaos Dwarfs, and Wood Elves. D is Ogre Kingdoms and Beastmen. And the trash is the Tomb Kings. That's 2 for 2 for the trash tier, the Tomb Kings, in the past 2 episodes. Do you want to change any of these now, or do you think that's about right?
I think that's about right.
Yeah. I think that's a good breakdown of where their book sits.
And again, it's not judging like the best list in each book against each other, just the book as a whole.
Because anyone could win with any of these.
Apart from Tomb Kings.
Yeah. I'm sure a really, really phenomenal player could take on the Dark Elves with Tomb Kings.
He would have to have a lot of luck as well. The dice would have to be always in his favour, to paraphrase.
Take 100 skeletons and kill Ida, be fine.
Yeah, but even then, it's good, but it's not, game breaking. You can do well with Tomb Kings. I think it would be very hard to really win against in a good tournament with top players with Tomb Kings.
Yeah,
let's do an all Tomb King tournament.
And that would just be staring at each other while you crawl 4 inches a turn towards each other. You might get to combat in like turn 6.
Every matchup is that Vanguard one. No, not Battle for the Pass. It's an entire draw. Everyone's got the same tournament points.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair breakdown of where these sit.
Dark Elves coming out on top because their book is, I don't know who wrote it.
I think there's a clear set of top tier armies. I think then a lot of what we've got across, say, the Bs and Cs, and even the Ds, really, well, particularly the Bs and Cs, you can do really well with them. They're not weak by any stretch. And then I think there's a noticeable drop off then to the lower tier where we find.
I mean, in the lower tier, there's 1 or 2 lists that you could probably do well with each book. And I things, but they do have some stronger lists you could probably do okay with. But it is only just a handful. Whereas the top books, you could do well with multiple different lists within those books.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's sort of the variety sort of cuts off at the B tier.
No, I think you're right. That's the biggest difference between B and then below, isn't it?
B
has the variety.
Below, tends to have like a few
a good list.
Yeah. Because even with I mean, we're all taking Chaos Dwarfs to Triple Crown.
What do you mean?
Even in like
it's mainly for hilarity as much as it is anything else.
It's mainly for the lols, just to do it for the sake of it. But just kind of list theorying, I would say 50% of every single list is identical.
Yeah,
in those Chaos Dwarf lists.
And that's the problem, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. And I'd imagine with you go to tournament with Dwarfs and what else? Wood Elves and Bretonnia, you're going to find very similar lists or 1 or 2 variations of similar lists from each book.
Yeah.
When I've been to tournaments for Bretonnia, I usually see 2, maybe 3 massive lances, at least one of them stubborn, and then just stuff backing it up. And Dwarfs is usually a decent amount of artillery with probably 2 decent combat blocks.
Combat blocks. Yeah, that's it. You can give or take write those lists without barely looking at the book, can't you?
Yeah. Whereas if you go to like, anything from B+ onwards, it can be a variety. You could take to a tournament to do really well with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'm going to do one executive action and just put the High Elves here.
No,
And,
that's so far from acceptable.
and we have no time to discuss this. Just decide.
High Elves once again trying to usurp Malekith's rightful throne.
Rightful throne. He can have it. He can have that cold rock over at Nagarond. It's all his. See, we can't even avoid high elven politics just for one neutral assessment of the army book.
Neutral assessment. You're trying to slide them up into S tier where they don't belong.
It's my channel. I can put them in any tier I want.
Put them down in trash.
Never. I think I'd melt if that happened. Well, thank you to Steve and Scott again for all this opinion, which means nothing. So
remember, that's opinion. This is the internet.
Yeah.
So it's actual fact.
Yeah.
Not to be contested in any way, shape, or form.
Like, share, or if you disagreed with us, probably unsubscribe. Actually, don't do that.
Even if you disagree, like we're relatively entertaining.
I wouldn't go that far.
I did say relatively.
Oh, right.
We're more entertaining than smashing your face off a wall. If they're your two choices, it into.
Or just listen to white noise for 2 hours. That would.
Yeah, that's
it's on par.
Potentially help people sleep, perhaps. I don't know.
If you disagree with what we said, or less likely agree, feel free to write a comment underneath, and I will reply. But yeah, thank you very much. I don't know what we're going to do for the next tier list. I wanted to do magic weapons, but I don't know how practical that is, because I don't think there are 15 pictures of different, distinct magic weapons that would make sense. But I don't know. You both have to come back whether or not I can find that.
Best magic weapon in the game, Fellblade.
Well, this was common. This is common magic. I'll give you Fellblade.
It's not, for clarity, but it is.
It is.
It's not the best. It just kills yourself, but you're a Skaven, so you just don't care. Strength
10. Don't need to read beyond that.
Don't worry about the fact it kills you.
It's only rats.
Well, that's the point. Put it on a Skaven warlord. I don't care. I'm actually only paying for the weapon. The guy's irrelevant.
You can't afford anything else if you take the Fellblade.
No, that's about it. It is an amazing piece of kit. Anyway, maybe for next time.
Yeah, who knows? You'll have to come back. Well, you don't have to, but
please
do. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll see you next episode.